Okay, so tonight we're doing 7 and 8. As per tradition, I'll go ahead and start with this one. Okay, 7. Heaven and earth last forever. Why do heaven and earth last forever? They are unborn, so ever living. The teacher stays behind, thus he is ahead. He is detached, thus at one with all. Through selfless action, he attains fulfillment. Okay, I have to go back and get the cards. Oh. Again, this is the card. Endurance. Both heaven and earth endure forever. The cause of their endurance is their difference. I'm sorry. Let me read that line again. The cause of their endurance is their indifference. Likewise, the teacher is indifferent, and not being preoccupied with self is immortal. Being unselfish, fulfillment is attained. Okay. So now we got Thomas Cleary's. This one is entitled, Heaven is Eternal, Earth is Everlasting. Heaven is eternal, earth is everlasting. The reason they can be eternal and everlasting is that they do not foster themselves. That is why they can live forever. For this reason, teachers put themselves last, and they were first. They excluded themselves, and they survived. Was it not by their very selflessness that they managed to fulfill themselves? So far, these are all kind of in line.
Mm-hmm.
And then my newest rendition, the Ursula Le Guin.
Mm.
This is entitled Dim Brightness. Heaven will last, earth will endure. How can they last so long? They don't exist for themselves, and so can go on and on. So wise souls, leaving self behind, move forward, and setting self aside, stay centered. Why let the self go? To keep what the soul needs. I have to say, that's my favorite tonight so far.
Is there one more you're going to read?
Nope, that's
Or
it.
That's it. You want me to read Stephen Mitchell's?
Yep.
Okay, this one.
Yep.
The Tao is infinite, eternal. Why is it eternal? It was never born. Thus, it can never die. Why is it infinite? It has no desires for itself. Thus, it is present for all beings. The master stays behind. That is why she is ahead. She is dedicated. She is detached from all things. That is why she is one with them. Because she has let go of herself, she is perfectly fulfilled.
Would you like to start with any thoughts? I had a pretty profound thought there.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
It has to do with they don't exist for themselves, so can go on and on. I think I've just lost it. My brain, like I said, it's not functioning as well tonight.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, the whole thing here is really interesting. In other words, it's like if you're not preoccupied with yourself, which is the image of who you think you are that appears in your own mind. If you're not preoccupied with that image, then you're just open for everything that can come along. And you're not attached to anything in particular, so you can move as fast as changes are happening. Whereas if you're preoccupied with yourself, sometimes you can sort of feel like you're missing out, or life is passing you by. But in that flow, if like the ego can't really be in that flow, because if it's in that flow, you're going to be spending time on it. So it's just being in the flow of existence, and being in the present moment, and just being available to everything that can happen.
Yeah, I think for me, this was a little bit more visual. And it had to do with the energy body. So I know last time we talked about that, like, sense of freedom or clearing your energy. As it has to do with Carlos Castaneda. And once you come from that sense of your energy is no longer tied down into configurations. That's where true freedom is found. And they also believe, the Toltec, that is, that will lead to keeping your energy body consolidated upon death. And that's what makes you eternal. So the freer your energy body is, the stronger it is. So like I said, not being tied down, not having that ego making you think that you are this body, allows you to, upon death, also keep your sense of self. And I do believe that, I mean, we're talking that kind of about deep stuff there, in the after death, which we don't really know, but my truth is that we are dispersed back into the all upon death. If we don't have that sense of energy body and knowing our true selves, is what I would call it. That energy that we are carrying with us, the awareness that's always present. I hope that makes sense.
So you think that when we die, if we're not aware of our true self, we just sort of go back into the all. But if we are aware of our true self, then we move on as whatever we're supposed to be doing, as some kind of being.
Exactly. So all experience that we have in this life lends to our personal energy if we let it. Otherwise, it can take up our personal energy. And so upon death, we're depleted of that. We can no longer hold on to it in our energy configuration or our energy body. And so, so we're just dispersed. Like I said, that's my own personal belief, and that's at least the truth that I've been given. It's my truth. So whether it's a universal truth or not, I don't want to step on any toes. So
yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure I've ever heard that quite said that way before. I'm not that preoccupied. I'm not that interested in what's going to happen after I die for some reason. If there is something after death, I'm probably going to like it more than I like Earth, I would, that would be my guess, that it would be better than it is here. So I'll probably be okay if I exist after death, wherever I might go, because I don't believe in a hell at all. That's ridiculous. But I don't think about that because there's nothing I can do about it. And if there's nothing after death, then I'm not going to be there to be upset about that. So either way, I don't see the point in being too concerned about all that.
Yeah. For me, it's not like a worry in the back of my mind. I used to be hung up on it when I was younger, but now it's just, I just know that living as I should and finding my own truth and trying to, like you said, find your true self, and just the truth in general. If I just do that, I know whatever happens is supposed to happen. I'm not too worried about what's going to happen. So.
Yeah, I like just take it a step at a time. Just be in the moment. Like don't be captivated by yesterday or tomorrow. Just be available right now. I mean, if I had kids and I was going to tell them how to be, I'd say pay close attention to what's going on right now in the way you feel, and and don't worry too much about what's not happening. Just be here, and usually that takes care of things. Like if you're constant with what's going on now, then you'll be constant with what's going on tomorrow, and you'll be ready for whatever tomorrow brings. So you get prepared for tomorrow by being here now, so to speak.
Yeah, I should tell my son that he suffers from some anxiety, and so I tell him that every once in a while, but I don't really make him like really focus on it. He has a lot of problems with focus in general, so I'm not sure how much saying, well, just be here now, will help him focus, because if he's here now, he'll probably be everywhere.
No, I mean, he's 9 years old, right?
Yeah.
Wait till he's at least 10. I mean, I think kids mostly are like to be right now, and they like to be playing and whatever they're doing like right now. I think that's just a natural thing, I don't know, because I don't think I've ever been that way, and I haven't needed to be around anyone who was that way. In terms, if you're talking about being like, he has anxiety, is that what you said? He has anxiety. Yeah. And I mean, well, we could go into a whole thing with that, but I never mind that. But yeah, I don't know. It's like I don't have all the answers to all these interesting ideas and questions. But there's something in me that says, just don't be too preoccupied with what might happen or what did happen. Don't be too preoccupied with that. Be more preoccupied with, how am I doing right now? Because if I'm doing okay right now and I've got a handle on that, then chances are whenever tomorrow happens, if it's a challenge, that I'll be more ready for it when it happens then, if I'm okay constantly, like as time goes by, just by being here now. Then whatever takes place, you're sort of ready for it.
Yeah.
But I don't think I would tell your child that. I don't think that would help them much.
No, I think just mindfulness practices are good for children. You can start getting them into that, and that is really all about just being now, just being aware of the moment, and not thinking about the past or the future or whatever. Just like I said, embracing the moment fully. So I know it's helped me immensely. It's helped me with my depression, being more mindful, because I can catch those thoughts, which is all that depression is. It is thoughts about the future or the past, digging up those old, either creating neural pathways or, digging up old ones and realigning them. So anyhow, I won't go into that either, because it's So just to touch on this last part about the teacher or the master or the sage, and and that's just what we're talking about. You leave self behind and move forward, setting self aside, you stay centered. So that's exactly what I was just talking about, mindfulness practice. You're not tainting your now with the past. You're not having those prejudices on the current moment. So you're experiencing it fully, like for the first time as an uncarved block.
Yeah, I'm just flashing on something. If you're not thinking about, well, if you are upset about something that might happen in the future, you've projected yourself into that situation, which might not even happen. So I think that's what they're getting at here as far as preoccupation with the self, because if you have a strong self-image and you contemplate something possibly happen that's negative, that's going to happen to you in the future, then you're spending the moment worrying about something that you can't do anything about yet, right? So yeah, just being here and understanding that whatever happens then is, you can't know that. You can't know exactly how that's going to turn out until you go through it in that moment. So if you're going through moment to moment to moment with your full attention, not worried about whatever tomorrow or whatever, but you're just like right here dealing with things, that's going to build up a sense of confidence that's going to be available. Like the stronger it is, the deeper it is, the more that's there because of your experience and being right here, right now, and dealing with everything as it arises. That's going to give you the most important preparatory work for anything that's going to happen tomorrow. And the only thing you can really do to improve that is be present, and that's happening now. So again, we're here. Like, it's always now. So now's the time to get it straight that tomorrow hasn't happened yet. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but that's really hard to do at the time because if you are attached, then your emotions are going crazy and what's going to happen and all this kind of stuff. And it's not anything that you can just click your fingers and you're free of. But just being aware of the fact that it's kind of a waste of time to worry too much right now about then.
Well, and it's also a retraining of your brain. So yeah, it's not easy. I have my ups and downs. Like for some weeks, I'm really able to just focus on mindfulness and remind myself. And then other weeks I just get caught up in my thoughts and I'm not present at all, and I don't even know what I'm thinking. That's how unmindful I am. So yeah. Okay, well, I say we go ahead and move on. I'm not just a little bit
Okay.
past the half hour. So
okay.
This is number 8. Of course, again, starting with this one. The highest good is like water. Water gives life to the 10,000 things and does not strive. It flows in places men reject, and so it is like the Tao. In dwelling, be close to the land. In meditation, go deep in the heart. In dealing with others, be gentle and kind. In speech, be true. In ruling, be just. In business, be competent. In action, watch the timing. No fight, no blame. I remember this one. It's actually one of my favorite ones. It's almost like a checklist of what to do in life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is from the card. The virtue, I think that's actually, I'm sorry, I said the, but it's actually, I think it's day, virtue. So TE, right? Tao Te.
Not sure.
The greatest virtue is like water. It is good to all things. It attains the most inaccessible places without effort. Therefore, it is like the Tao, which has the virtue of adapting itself. Like the heart, it is virtuous by being deep. Like speech, it is virtuous when it is quiet. Like choice, it is virtuous in equanimity. Like a servant, it is trustworthy. It flows quickly sometimes, and at others it trickles. Like action, it has its seasons, and because it does not strive, it has no enemies. Okay, here we go with Thomas Cleary. Higher good is like water. Higher good is like water. The good in water benefits all, and does so without contention. It rests where people dislike to be, so it is close to the way. Where it dwells becomes good ground. Profound, it is good in its heart. Benevolent, the good it bestows. Goodness in words is trustworthiness. Goodness in government is order. Goodness in work is ability. Goodness in action is timelessness. But only by non-contention is there nothing extreme. That one just seems way more confusing than the original one.
Yeah.
Okay. Easy by nature from Lagoon. True goodness is like water. Water's good for everything. It does not compete. It goes right to the low, lonesome places and finds the way. For a house, the good thing is level ground. In thinking, depth is good. The good of giving is magnanimity. Of speaking, honesty. Of government, order. The good of work is skill, and of action, timing. No competition, so no blame. I like just those last two lines, the no competition, so no blame. I like the competition word a lot better than no fight, no blame, even though that kind of makes sense too. But in saying no competition kind of brings me more into mind of equality. Like with everything equal, there's no blame, and that's real big for me, because I think a lot of what's wrong with our society is that people don't accept responsibility for things. They don't fully accept responsibility for their actions, or for their emotions, or for their situations. I mean, I can go on and on. And
do you want me to read this first before?
oh
we
yeah,
go on?
sorry.
Okay. The supreme good is like water, which nourishes all things without trying to. It is content with the low places that people disdain. Thus, it is like the Tao. In dwelling, live close to the ground. In thinking, keep to the simple. In conflict, be fair and generous. In governing, don't try to control. In work, do what you enjoy. In family life, be completely present. When you are content to be simply yourself and don't compare or compete, everybody will respect you.
There's that competition word again. So yeah, when everyone is equal, and that you understand that we are all one, that we are all part of the Tao, then there's no blaming, because you'd just be blaming yourself. And that's really what you should be doing anyhow, but in a positive way. Just knowing that you are in full control of your actions and your emotions, and that you have the power to either let them go, or accept.
Well, that sounds great, but I don't find that true in life. It's like I think what they're saying here is there's something going on that if you flow with it and become one with it, then that's the way to live your life. I mean, it's like be like water. Well, water will go anywhere. It will go anywhere. It will go low, it will go high, it will go into dirty places and clean places. I mean, it will just go everywhere. And that's what it has to do. It has no control whatsoever over what it's doing. And by not having any control over what it's doing, it's flowing naturally amongst things that might scare other people, and say, oh no, I don't want to go there. I don't want to do that. But maybe that's needed at the time. I mean, maybe in that moment, you do need to do this. You do need to see that. So things are presenting themselves constantly in life, and we have a tendency to run away from what we don't like and to head towards what we do like. But maybe taking things one step at a time, and just like water's not concerned about where it is ever. It's not judging where it is. It's not saying this isn't good enough. And it's like in governing, don't try to control. In other words, let the people basically do what they want to do and stay out of their business, and don't try to impose your will on them. So I'm getting a feeling that this is about finding the flow, the natural flow inside, sticking to that. And I mean, I've got all these things that I want to do, and sometimes it's about just simple things around the house. And I'll look at something that needs to get done for the 20th time and go, I got to get to that at some point. And sometimes it dawns on me, well, wait a minute, you see it now. Why don't you take the 1 minute or the 5 minutes or whatever it's going to take for you to do that right now? And then it's done and gone. That thought comes to mind. I don't always follow that thought, but it does come to mind. And it makes sense when you think about it. Like, you could get a lot of things done one step at a time if you just let reality present you with things that needed to get done. And maybe what reality is trying to tell you is, if you do them in the sequence I'm presenting them to you, my friend, your life will go much better than it's been going with you thinking you should be the controller here. I mean, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's an interesting thing to think about. Like, if there's a purpose to life, maybe every single thing that comes our way needs our attention. And if it's a wonderful thing, we give it our attention automatically. If it's not such a wonderful thing, we don't want to deal with it. And so, but that causes a problem, because the next time something like that comes up, you haven't made any progress. And so you're going to have to deal with it again. That's, I think people get in relationships like that sometimes, where they go from person to person to person, and they want it to be a certain way, and it doesn't work out. So they're just constantly searching for what they think they need to be doing right now, when reality is saying, not necessarily. Maybe you should try looking in this direction. Anyway, I think that's
I agree with parts. Like, so the last thing I said there about either letting go or accepting is a lot like, the flow. So when you're in a state of acceptance, you're going with the flow. You're not going against, the river there. You're not trying to swim up it. So you're in accepting, you just, you let that flow through you. You don't hold on to it. And that, like I said, that a lot of that has to do with emotions. So just accepting your emotions is a big part of, letting them go, not letting them control you. And again, what is that? There's that proverb or whatever from the Bible, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. And
know, how does it, I don't know how it goes, but know which ones I can do and not do or something. I forget, but that's a great one.
And I think that kind of applies here by not fighting. So just allowing your own self to be like that water. And well, here's a story. My husband gets really worked up about some things sometimes. I mean things that he has no control over. And it doesn't seem to help when I tell him, I go, look, do you have control of that? Is there anything you could have done? It's already happened. And there's nothing you could have done to stop that or prevent it or change it or anything. So just, there's no sense in getting angry and, raising your energy to that kind of negative level. If you just say, okay, well, it's already done. What's done is done, right? Is that what they say? It is what it is the big coined phrase now these days. Because you can't change it. And it doesn't, and it just leads to unhappiness and negativity when you just get angry about something there's nothing you can do about. So that idea of acceptance, and letting go. So like what they talk about, be a vessel. What makes a vessel useful is its emptiness. So you're filled up with this emotion, or you're filled up with this, it's really emotions that it comes down to, because you have an experience and it's your reaction to that experience. So if it's something that you cannot control and it makes you angry or upset or whatever, so fill your vessel, and then acknowledge it. Say, okay, I'm filled with anger right now, or I'm filled with sadness, or whatever it is, even if it's happiness. Acknowledge that, and then let it drain out of you again. Let your vessel be emptied, so that you can take in another experience, another vase full of water of experience there, and feel that fully, like back to presence again, being present. Accept it, acknowledge it, and then you can let it drain through you again. You let that water flow again to that low, those low places. I know a lot of times when I'm angry, or I feel sick or something, or it's during my meditations where I'm trying to clear my energy, and untie it from all those past experiences that may have gotten caught in. I take those knots, like I envision my energy filaments just like combing through them and making them so that, and take those knots, or there's hairballs. Sometimes I think, because I envision it as like my hair when I'm doing that in the shower, and all the hairballs. I just take that and I just let it flow out of me into the earth, and because I know the earth knows what to do with it. It can recycle that energy somehow. So yeah, the idea of flowing, and acceptance, and really has impacted me, I guess, in my life.
The problem is, though, sometimes is that when you're really emotional about something, like your husband gets really emotional about this stuff, like he can't just go, okay, I'm gonna let this go now. Feel better. I mean, he's enduring that, because probably that emotion is a result of him maybe not paying attention to what he needed to pay attention to at the time and dealing with it. And it's like it's probably a recurrent thing, and you probably can predict, like what's going to happen when he starts telling you one of these stories where he's going to get emotional. You probably know, okay, now he's going to get really upset, and then he does, because he goes through this. And sometimes that happens because you're avoiding it. In my own experience, especially in the last few months with negative emotions, I've watched how I can get triggered, and then when I get triggered, I hate it. It feels awful. But then, if I separate the story of why this is happening from the actual feeling itself, like maybe like how bad is it? My chest, my chest is a little upset, my stomach's a little upset. But it's not that much. But when you couple that with that story that's going on at the same time, like why this is happening, then that tends to make it a lot worse. And sometimes you need to just be in that emotional state for a while, because I think part of it's a defense mechanism, and your mind body organism is going, this is really a bad scene, like please don't get involved in this kind of thing. There's signals that are coming to us as sort of a protection kind of a thing. And I think the most difficult thing we have to deal with in life is our own emotional states. Like the triggering agent even doesn't even matter when you really think about it. Like somebody can, disrespect you, let's say, in some way, and then you don't feel good. Well, why don't you feel good? But because you think they've done something to you. Well, who are you? Are you your little ego self that needs not to be stomped on, that needs to always get its way? Because if that's you, you're going to run into this problem all the time. But if you're not that, if you see clearly that you're not that image, and you're something that's behind back in here someplace that's really untouchable, then you're going to go through those experiences time and time again, and they're going to repeat. So maybe there's something going on with him where he needs to just be with that emotion in that moment. He needs to feel that, and maybe, maybe. I don't know if maybe you do this anyway, but you could just be with him in it. You could just be next to him or touch him or hold him or something, and just be with him in that while he experiences the water of his emotions that are maybe trying to wash away some crud that's in his system that needs to be looked at and seen clearly with his consciousness. And maybe he wants to avoid that. Like we all want to avoid these negative emotions. So,
well, see, that's the issue right there, is trying to avoid them. So, I use that analogy of not just letting it go. And obviously, no, but my analogy was taking that emotion and filling yourself up with, totally being there with it. That's what I meant by filling up your vessel with that water, with that emotion, and to totally experience it in full. And then from there, you can, the whole body feeling, just as you were saying, when you get angry or you have sadness or embarrassment, those you can physically feel in your body. So just being able to be fully present with that emotion, and then you can come to a point of acceptance, because you kind of first have to figure out, well, what is the emotion? So being present with emotion, you have to actually figure out what it is, and you learn a lot about yourself. And then you can find out from there, as you're present, it will usually dawn on you why. You'll get the why spontaneously just by embracing that emotion. And you learn a little bit about yourself, because you learn about your triggers, and then you can catch them next time. But yeah, so that's exactly, we are actually saying the same things.
yeah, apparently, yeah.
So yeah, but it's not always as easy to do as all that, because your emotions really can run away with you like a freight train. You just
exactly. But if we could remember that the negative emotions are not there for no reason. I mean, they're there for probably for protection. I mean, if something drops on your body and it hurts, that's the body saying, like, don't avoid this. Don't let these things drop on you. And so you pay more attention, and then that doesn't happen anymore. So yeah, So that's an interesting. Go ahead.
I guess my husband and I are different in the fact that I am not as triggered by, like I said, things that I cannot change, that I know are not in my power to do anything about. Versus things that I know I've caused for myself, like mistakes I've made. Those hit me so much more, because I'm like, oh man, I should have blah, blah, blah. It starts that real, the broken record over and over. And those thoughts of, you're stupid, or you're worthless, or, you get these thoughts as like, I can't believe you made that mistake. And then start thinking about, what's going to happen in the future because of this mistake. So yeah, for me, those kind of self-inflicted issues that I feel like I should have been in control, and I should have been able to do something about that if I only made a better decision. Hit me a lot harder than something happening that, it's just like, okay, well, a car accident, unless it was my fault, there's really nothing I could have done about it. It is what it is. But yeah, if it was me and I didn't look and I caused it, then I'm going to be like, So just, sorry.
Well, we're not perfect, we're not there yet. So those things are going to happen. We're always going to feel like idiots from time to time. I talk to myself sometimes like I'm a separate person, because Brent is this character that's in my life, and he's goofing up a lot, and he's making mistakes and whatever, and so sometimes I'll do something that's stupid, and then I'll feel it immediately, and it'll be and I'll go, Brent, you idiot. And that does not bother me, because that's not me. That's who I think I am. So I say that, and it's amazing how it dissipates immediately, because that's the emotion that's there. I want to scream at myself, so I scream at myself, then it's gone, and on I go. And it's a technique that seems to work really well. I would not want to try and hold that inside.
Yeah. So yeah, after the point of acceptance, then you let your vessel drain. You let that go and ready for the next emotion or experience that comes. So yeah, ideally, that's the way to go. But I think acceptance is also comes around to self-compassion and just compassion for others. So I like what you said. And instead of me just saying, oh, well, there's nothing you can do about it, so just accept it, I should, be there for that other person, and just take myself to a sense of compassion, and maybe put myself in the places like, well, what if I did that? What if it was something I did, and I can easily come to that kind of state of emotion just by thinking, putting myself in that place, maybe in a different scenario. But practicing that kind of compassion can help others through it too, and help take these theories, these things that we're learning. They're not theories, but take these things that we're learning and be able to share them with others in a way that really elicits a real change on this planet.
Yeah, and if you can't do that, if somebody's freaking out, like if your husband freaks out and you get upset and you can't do that in that moment, then that's something that you need to be with. So you both can be with what's going on in the moment together, even though it's like separate things maybe in each of you. That can happen also. And being completely open and honest about it. Like God, I wish I could help you right now, but I'm so upset and I'm so angry at myself for not being able to help you, or whatever it is, or just be completely honest with all that, maybe not then, but whenever you can talk about it later. That would be a good way to work through it,
and that works for anybody in any situation. Honestly, it doesn't have to be,
sure.
Husband and wife or whatever. It can be any situation, even a work situation.
Oh, definitely.
In fact, I had something today that happened that I just had so much self-loathing. I was just beating myself up over a mistake I made.
Still
Kind of, yeah, when I go back to think about it, but not so much.
What happened?
Huh?
What happened?
Oh, I don't want to go
You don't want to go into it? Okay.
But yeah, because it's kind of a long story. But basically, so there was a potential that I might have made someone feel really bad. It was something very unprofessional that I did by mistake. And I just was like, oh man. So I was like, oh, should I apologize to the person or whatever? What if they didn't see it? Maybe I should just ignore it. And so but I felt that instantly when it happened, like my heartbeat went up. I had that sinking feeling in the bottom of my stomach, and I even spaced out for a second. It's like I like almost froze like a deer in the headlights. And so I actually ended up talking about it with one of my coworkers, and that made me feel better just knowing that, just talking through it. But he definitely gave me that compassion, by saying, "No, it's understandable," and so, but would it be better to go to straight to the other person and just admit whether or not he not saw it? Should I admit the mistake and allow him that sense of compassion and stuff too, or am I opening Pandora's box there and this? So it's just
Well,
so that
don't let
stuff happens all the time, and just being able to be there for somebody else is I think a beautiful, wonderful thing that can change the world. So practice it on yourself, so that you get really good at it, so that when someone else is experiencing it, you can come to that state with them and maybe help them through it. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, you were going to say something else, and I just.
It must not have been important. I can't remember what it was.
I used to say that all the time. I got that book that you suggested, by the way, about
Which
the
one?
river.
Oh, Siddhartha?
Yeah, I'm finding it a little bit difficult to get into, but I try to stick it out. So little increments I'll try to read, and then I put it down. So.
Yeah, I've read that book probably 8 or 9 times. Yeah, if you're having trouble with it, then just do it when you feel like you can do it, and do it at your pace and everything else, whatever, because it's incredibly rewarding when you really get into that. I mean, I'll pick it up in 6 months or a year and I'll read it again, and go through the whole thing again. There's a lot in there about water. There's a lot in there.
Yeah, so that's what I remember. That's why you suggested it to me, because I like the analogy of a river. And yeah, we talked about that previously. So, but we're actually at time now. It's a little after 8. So
okay.
Let's wrap it up. Appreciate your time and your knowledge and wisdom, right, that we're sharing, and just doing this in general. It's good to just get this out there.
Yeah, it's great. It feels really good, and it's a wonderful thing to do, and yeah.
Well, till next time then.